Hi, welcome to The Word of Lord Russell. My name is Venetia
Yes,
Beach, and I own and run the marketing and communications agency, Peach Revolution. And once again, we've got our guest, Lord Russell Baker. So we get to talk about his book, My Way, his autobiography. So, Lord Russell, welcome.
yes. Good
Once
afternoon
again,
again, Venetia. Good afternoon. And what a
good
fabulous day it is
afternoon.
too.
So it's not a very bright afternoon, unfortunately, but we'll make do.
We make do. It's summer almost. It's good.
Yeah, almost summer. So we've got lots to talk about. And this time I've been thinking about one specific episode, and that was your encounter with Mr. Fah in
Oh, yes.
Bulgaria. Yes, so that was very intriguing and really a James Bond episode.
Very much a James Bond episode, I can tell you. I remember that particular trip very, very well indeed. Fantastic. Absolutely amazing trip. So,
Yes,
yeah, I was working for Reuters at the time. And
yes,
this
so
goes back to
that was
1990.
1990. Yeah, okay.
So a long time ago, but one of those trips that oh, heavens above, um, Reuters booked all my travel for me, Venetia, everywhere I went, all booked, all the hotels booked.
Okay.
Nothing can go wrong, can it? Well, it
Mm.
does. So I do remember I travelled from Heathrow to Frankfurt, no problem at all. That went swimmingly well. Got on a flight from Frankfurt to Sofia International and no problems at all. Thought, well, this is good. I
Mm-hmm.
took a short stroll round to the domestic departure lounge at Sofia to what I was hoping was going to be my flight to Varna on the Black Sea.
Yeah.
And of course, I got there and there's no flights on the board, no flights existed.
Wasn't
Um,
that really weird? Didn't you think it was really strange that there were no
wow, it was
flights?
strange.
Yeah.
Yes, it was totally strange. I had a couple of people in the domestic departure lounge, workers, looking at me strangely, thinking, "What are you doing here? There's no flights." And of course, I had one booked which didn't exist, so it's really, really quite a strange
Oh,
thing. There's no food, there's no drink. It's a dirty,
okay.
dingy departure lounge, the domestic one then in those days. And I sat down, Benicia, and I thought to myself, "What am I going to do now? I need to be in Varna." And then the
There
door
was
opened,
someone
and
else there in the
yeah.
departure lounge.
No,
No?
it's just strange, very strange, I have to say. And the door opened, and this guy walks in, and he was a taxi driver. And I thought, I'm not getting a taxi to Varna; it's going to cost a fortune. But anyway,
Mm.
Reuters would have to pay. But anyway, he said, "Do you want to do some money exchange? Do you want to buy some local currency, Bulgarian currency, for dollars or pounds?" He obviously wanted the hard currency. So I
Yeah.
thought, that's a good idea. So I did some negotiation with this guy, and ended up this great wad of money. It's a huge, great wad. And I thought, I've got a good deal there. Anyway, I sat down and I was in this departure lounge, Venetia, for 5, 6 hours. When all of a
Wow.
sudden I got
Without any
indication,
food. Without any
no
food.
food,
Drink.
no drink, no
Oh my
water,
God.
absolutely nothing. And then I got wing that a flight was inbound and it was flying to Varna. Oh, okay. So anyway, it landed this old Russian Antonov type aircraft. One of those aircraft that usually crash about 1 in 5 attempts. Very bad record, safety
Oh
record.
my God.
I thought, God, I don't want to get on this thing. Anyway, I rushed up to the counter along with a couple of other people who had turned up. And one Bulgarian guy just beat me. He was obviously younger. Thought I was quick enough to get there first. But anyway, he got before me, bought his ticket. I bought mine. And it was 56, I think their currency is a Libra or something. Anyway, their local currency, Bulgarian
Yeah.
currency. So I got my calculator out and what with the exchange rate I'd done. And it was £3 for a flight.
Wow.
I thought, wow. So I did it several times, same thing, £3. Anyway, cut a long story short, I got on this old plane and I thought, oh, I'm not going to get off this alive. This is going to crash. But lo and behold, it got to Varna, and I got off and I felt great. Got a taxi who tried to charge me £10. I just paid £3 for a flight, but he's trying to
Yeah.
charge me £10 to get to this hotel. I
The taxi
negotiated him
more
down to
expensive one.
oh, yeah, exactly. So I negotiated him down to three English pounds, gave him 3 coins actually, and he went off quite happy. Got to the
Okay.
hotel, rebooked my return flight, thinking, well, I'm coming back in a week's time. So I rebooked my return flight, 56 Libra again. And I tried to pay them in their local currency. And of course, they didn't want that. They wanted dollars and pounds. And it came to $10. So I thought, well, it's still a cheap flight. Anyway, I was determined not to get this flight because it was a death trap. So anyway, the following day, I got invited by one of these organizations to get on a coach and go to this palace. Remember, there's no food in the country at this time. I mean, it's just absolutely horrendous. So I got on this coach and we drove to this palace. And on the way, going through towns. Yeah, it's a real palace.
Yeah.
A real palace. And on the way, going through these streets, looking into the shops, no food. Everyone was walking around, looked depressed. Got to this palace. And it's like an enchanted place. The huge gardens. Got off, went inside. Long tables laden with food, caviar, you name it was there. And all the wines were coming off of the vineyards that was part of this palace and was being served up. Fantastic. Bulgarian wine was amazing. Anyway, wandering around enjoying this ambience of this place, and this chap approached me, the infamous Mr Fah.
Yep.
And he said, "Oh, my name is Mr Fah. I'm an Eastern European businessman." And I looked at him strangely. I thought, "Oh, well, nice to see you." And we were talking, and he said, "Oh, by the way, do you want me to show you around this place? President Gorbachev from Russia was here just 6 months previously. I can show you where his room was, and so on and so forth." So anyway, he showed me around this palace, and we carried on drinking and so on and so forth. Anyway, he said, "When are you going back to the UK?" I said, "Well, I've got a flight back on the Friday." He said, "Oh." I said, "But I don't want to get it. It's an old Russian Antonov. They crash every 1 in 5 flights, bad safety record." And he said, I said, "I was even looking at trains." He said, "Well, don't get a train. You'll get mugged. It's really bad here." And all these things.
That you could get mugged.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So he said, "Look, I'm going back to Sofia, from Varna, Sofia, on Friday. You can come with me on my plane." I thought, "Oh, okay. Yeah. Sounds like a great idea." He obviously liked me. I got on with him. We had carried on having a nice social session. It was fantastic. On the Friday, I went down with my luggage in the hotel. There's these 2 honchos walked in, dressed just like mafiosa. And I thought to myself, they're not looking for me, I hope. And they come up to me and said, "Is that Russell?" I said, "Yes. Hello, I'm such and such. I'm such and such. Let me take your luggage. Mr. Fah's waiting for you outside."
Right.
So I thought, am I doing the right thing here? I don't know who these guys are. Anyway, went outside, and there's this huge, great Zeal, what looked like a Zeal, one of those limousines that go around Moscow from building to building with various dignitaries. And Mr. Fah was inside. They put my luggage in the boot. I'm starting to get nervous now, as you can imagine. Oh, heavens above, what am I doing? I started to think about my wife at home, my late wife, my kids. Oh my God, is this the last time I ever think about them? They opened the door, they got in. I sat in the middle. They sat on either side of me. I felt imprisoned. But one thing I did notice, underneath their jackets, they had holsters and small armware on them. Yeah. So I thought, this is an interesting thing now. Anyway, lo and behold, we got Mr. Fah's in the front with a driver, and we did get to Varna Domestic Departure Lounge. And I thought to myself, well, this is okay. We're here. And as I got out, they were next to me again. The jacket swung open. I could see a shooter inside, small arms. And Mr. Fah said to me, he said, "Oh, look, don't worry, keep very close to me and my men." He said, "They're armed." I said, "Yes, I know, I can see that." He said, "Keep very close." So if you look,
really terrible. I mean, people who are armed.
I know, these things happen to me all the time, Venetia. And he said to me, he said, "See the armed guards up by the entrance to the airport?" I said, "Yeah, the machine guns." I said, "Yes." He said, "As we approach, stay close, they put them down. They won't stop us. There'll be no security. We'll walk straight through the airport, onto the runway, and board my private Learjet." So I'm thinking, okay, this is good. So lo and behold, we approached the armed guards. Their machine guns went down. I stayed close. I'm still nervous, of course. Walked through the airport. No one stopped us. No one's checking documents. Straight out the other side, and there's his Learjet, engines running, tailgate down, and ventured onto the aircraft. So I sat down. Mr. Fah went into the cockpit with his co-pilot. I sat down. The tailgate went up. It turned round and immediately took off. None of this hanging around.
Okay.
This guy
so
was somebody.
VIP, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He was somebody, and straight away I started to think this guy is mafioso. You said he was Eastern European businessman, but I'm thinking, no. This guy's a serious player.
Yeah.
Anyway, this lady appeared and said, "Would you like a drink?" I said, "Well, oh yes, please. Can I have a quadruple Armagnac, please?" So I needed a drink at this stage, I can tell you. Anyway, I still thought to myself, "Are we going to go to Sofia? Where am I heading for?" Anyway, we landed at Sofia because Mr Fah had said to me he was going there for a business trip, and he was
Yeah.
giving me a lift.
Mm-hmm.
As we got off the aircraft after it landed, I came down the tailgate, and Mr Fah came out. He waited for me. He said, "Lovely to see you, Russell. Thanks very much for your time. I really enjoyed your company." I said, "Likewise." Now, but bear in mind, I'd had a quadruple Armagnac at this time. So I asked him again. I said, "So what do you do, Mr. Fah, as a business?"
Mm-hmm.
He said, I cannot explain my business to you." And he looked quite angry. And then
My
said
God, very
goodbye.
suspicious. Yeah.
I turned around, got onto the aircraft, and immediately took off. And I'm standing on the runway looking at the aircraft in the air thinking,
So it
what,
just gave you a lift.
has this just happened?
Yeah.
Well, it had, you see, it had happened. And I had my luggage and proceeded to walk into the Sofia airport, the domestic lounge, to walk around to the international side. So it was really quite a bizarre trip, that was, I have to say. So exciting, scary, and one of those little adventures in my life that happen from time to time. In fact, happen quite often, really. So it's just
Yeah.
one of those nice little trips.
Yeah, you will
Unbelievable.
remember him. It's incredible. And what
Never
could
seen
have
him again
happened?
since.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So, it's just like from a movie. That's what I'm thinking of. It's not, it doesn't really happen in real life.
No, it's a Hollywood sketch, isn't it? And and even
Yeah.
now, when I think about it, I think, did that really happen? Of course it did. And even now, I think, heavens, the things that have happened to me since then, anyway, in my life, it's sort of normal. Really, it happens to me, as I say, all the time. But I look back at that moment, and I started to think about my late wife then, who obviously was alive, and my kids, and I'm thinking, if only they knew what things I get up to when I'm away with Reuters working.
Yeah.
Quite incredible, Apart from sitting in the hotel bar at Varna drinking with these Russian guys, that was
Yeah.
something else as well, on the vodkas. And all these things you have to do, because I was there to be part of a Forex exhibition and a foreign
Okay.
exchange. So
Yeah.
meeting Russians, meeting Mongolians, stand duty, this infamous Mr. Fah, and all these good things. So it was exciting trip,
And you
all in a
also had
week.
an episode in Warsaw, was it? The year before, where someone
Ah,
rifled to your head, and so that was another
yes,
very
same year.
dangerous episode and very exciting as well. And
Oh, heavens, yeah. Well, I had to go to
which
Poland. I had to go to Warsaw. Now, bear in mind that the wall was still up at this time.
yeah.
This was about 1989, I think, just before the wall
Mm-hmm.
had come down. And I was always
Okay.
told to be very cagey when you go to Eastern European countries, the old Russian Federation, the Russian bloc. Don't tell people who you are, what you're doing, and be very cagey. Well, I actually went through and I actually let my guard down. And I said I worked for Reuters. And as soon as I said that, I knew I'd made a mistake. This is the passport control. And you can see the guy behind the counter with his arm movement, obviously pushed a button. Within seconds, I had two armed police guys, guards, one left, one right, both pointing rifles at my head. And I thought to myself, this isn't good. This is a situation that has to be resolved very quickly. So I stepped into my James Bond mode, really,
Yes.
and was very calm, very English, very cool, and
That's right.
managed to talk myself out of it. But whether they followed me after that through Poland, probably had somebody following me, I'm sure. Um, that was that story. But again, having rifles pointed at you like that is a very scary thing, I have to say.
Yeah, I would
It doesn't
think
happen
so.
too often. And there were
So
loads of
what?
it too. That was real.
Yeah. How was the reception when you said you are from Reuters? So it was very chilly, I suppose. Very
Well,
harsh.
yeah, very chilly, very cold. Because straight away they thought, you're a spy. You're here to do news reports. You're here to gain information about us, our Russian Federation. Poland was part of that federation at that time, the Eastern Bloc. The wall was
Yeah.
still up. So very suspicious of Westerners, coming into Eastern Europe at that time. And any mistake, and you were brought down. And I'm sure I was followed. without doubt. I had somebody
Yeah.
tailing me. So that was a bit of an interesting trip too. It all seems to happen to me, I tell you, Venetia. It's one of those things.
But
So
were
another
you,
exciting trip.
how did you feel about having all those adventures? Were you not scared?
Well, I think fear comes into all of these things. It is a scary moment. For me to turn around and say I wasn't scared would be a lie, it'd be wrong. But like in all these situations, you have to stand very calm and very cool. So that's where my James Bond style of approach comes in quite nicely. It helps. Very assured speech, very relaxed in my body movement, making sure that I don't give anything away in terms of body movement at all. Read the situation well. Don't look away from them when you talk. Speak into their eyes. Look at them. Try and transfer some nerve into them as well. But managed to talk myself out of it, which was a good situation. But yeah. When I thought to myself, I don't want this to happen again. It's one of those scary moments, and it hasn't since. I've never had that in an airport again, or in any country. I don't wish to have it either, to be honest. But
I
yeah,
think
it's an experience, isn't it?
such an experience. Yeah, experiencing the Cold War and the Eastern Bloc at that time, how it was. Life was so different in those countries.
Oh,
That people in Western countries can't actually imagine what life was like. Yeah.
No, and if you look at what happened in the East and the West, two different complete cultures. When the wall went down in Germany, in Berlin, you could see the different in style of buildings. One being very nice and eloquent, bright and cheerful on the west side, grey and depressing on the east. People, happy and cheerful on one side, depressed and demoralised on the other side.
Yeah.
It was a strange time, very strange time. But when the wall went down and we officially got under the Cold War, that was good for the world, wasn't it, at that time? Wish it was like it now, really. The world's going crazy again, as we all know. But
yes, exactly.
it's madness, absolute madness, isn't it? But yeah, that was the start of a good time, wasn't it? Then, the Margaret Thatcher years. I did return to Warsaw actually a short while ago, a few years ago, on a business trip.
In 2016.
Completely different.
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
Completely different time, completely different experience. But what I did have, when I went into Hotel Bristol with a colleague of mine, there was something going on in the city. I think some kind of convention, government convention, because there's a lot of armed police around, actually. Men sitting in cars with balaclavas on, obviously armed, top troops. And they had this airport scanning device that you had to walk through to get into Hotel Bristol. And my friend at the time, he said to me, Russell, Michael, his name was, he said, Russell, we won't get in. I said, leave it with me. We will get in. We're going to go and have a gin and tonic.
Okay.
So we walked through, and as usual, James Bond style, nice and reserved and nicely spoken. Managed to get through, and they searched us, got into the hotel, and Michael said to me, how the hell do you do this, Russell? I said, don't worry, it's going to have a nice gin and tonic. Walked into the bar of Hotel Bristol, and you know what's above the bar? A huge portrait of Margaret Thatcher. Can you imagine? Our former Prime Minister, the wonderful Margaret Thatcher, perched in a Polish hotel, the Hotel Bristol, in the middle of Warsaw. So I did ask the question, what is the Iron Lady doing above the bar? And he said, oh, we've got a story to tell you there. I said, go on, I'm interested. He said, well, when she used to come here for her political, conventions, she used to stay here in this hotel. It's as simple as that. So they immortalised her by putting the picture of her above the hotel bar. But what a lovely story. Fantastic. It's one of my enjoyable trips to Warsaw. So yeah, these things happen all the time. It's great. It makes life. It makes the adventure of life very interesting, because you just turn the corner and you just don't know what you're going to find next. So it's quite an important thing. It's lovely. Makes life so interesting.
You've got so many adventures like that in the book, and so we would urge our readers to grab the book, sit down, have a nice cup of coffee or tea, and just enjoy the book, enjoy the adventures,
Absolutely.
learn more about different cultures, countries that they never knew about, and how lifestyle is different or used to be different in the 90s.
Yes, and it was too. Yes, get a copy of my book now, My Way, by Lord Russell Baker. It's on Amazon, which you can buy in both softback and as well as an electronic copy. So they're available there, or get in touch with me personally at Russell at norfolklaw.co.uk, where you can purchase a nice signed quality hardbook copy. So variations, hardbook, softbook, as well as the electronic versions as well.
Yes,
Kindle version.
All
good.
All good. And I hope our listeners are happy to purchase a copy. And subscribe also to the podcast, because every fortnight we're going to talk about new episodes, so that you will have an insight into all the adventures of a book, and learn more about the Lord Russell way.
Absolutely. And probably more stories as we venture too, because there's always things happening in my life. So, let's make it real as well. Absolutely. Can't wait for the next episode already. It's exciting.
That's exciting. And we are on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. So please have a look, subscribe, and listen to the next episode.
Lovely.
Thank you very much for listening. And thank you very much, Lord Russell, for being here.
Thank you very much, Venetia.
Have a lovely afternoon, and we'll speak soon.
We will indeed. Take care, Venetia. Lovely to speak to you again.
Take care.
Goodbye to the listeners. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.